Peace, blessings, greetings.
I was just about to say greetings, everyone.
Hey, this is Masternomics. This is myself, Martin Chris Glynn.
Sabrina Glin.
Yes, the founders of Masternomics. Uh, Hopefully this isn't your first time tuning in, but maybe hopefully it is because that's good because that means you've heard some good news about us. But here at Masternomics, we focus on personal and professional development, self mastery. We talk a lot about entrepreneurship. We talk a lot about mindset shifting the mind. It's our goal to help people reach their highest potential. Whatever it is in life you want to accomplish, that's what our channel is about. That's what we're about. That's what our company is about.
Well, what he was saying, but we also talk about the universal laws. We talk about pretty much like manifestation, energy, frequencies. And so we really have a lot of different conversations, but they're all about personal growth. They're all about self development. They're all of our conversations. Everything that you will hear us having a conversation about is all intentional to help you manifest the type of lifestyle that you want to live, not our lifestyle, what we think is right, but what you want. And so we pretty much help you remember who you are to help you tap into that divine power that you have access to, that we all have access to.
Yeah, so you know, Masternomics focusing on upliftment, empowerment.
Mhm.
So we're just gonna have a conversation. We do a lot of question and answer classes, and if you check out the channel, you'll see we did 19 classes where we went through the universal laws and how they pertain to us and how they help you in everyday life. Now, we're talking about universal laws. We're not talking about man's law. We're not talking about the laws of the state you're in, the laws of the country you live in. We're talking about universal laws, right? And so that first law, the law of oneness, showing that guess what? No matter how we shape it, how much we don't like it, we are all connected to one source, right? Now, in religion, that played out, and people say, well, there's one God. But one thing we know is that religion is about telling somebody something. Spirituality is about you having your experience. So when we teach the universal laws, the aspect of the universe and how it pertains to everybody, no matter your religion, no matter your culture, anything, right? And so that law of oneness shows us that really we are all connected to one, right? So one thing that we teach is that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. What's that mean? Simply just what I said. You're a spirit, right? One day the spirit will leave the shell that it's in. The spirit will go on to another form of existence. Okay. So we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. Experience is very important. And so that's why when we created Masternomics, we wanted a way to affect people, everyday people, help take everyday people, simple people, right? No matter what you're doing in life, and show you how you can get whatever it is you want out of life. So, and that is first understanding your spirit first, right? And if you understand your spirit, then you understand that this is a shell. And if you understand that, then you understand whatever you're doing today for money or occupation does not have to be what you do tomorrow. You have the ability to shift. That shifting starts with using the mind, right? So Masternomics, that's what we're dealing with, right? So I wanted to talk today about survival, survival, being in survival mode. And a lot of people are in survival mode and don't even know it, right? So, for example, uh, I'm no different than a lot of people. I was a person born, went through the education system, was taught you have to work to make money, and then with the money you make, you pay your bills. The thing is, so many people just live that way all day, every day, and for their whole life, right? So you go from being graduating from high school, then you go to college, you're taught to work for money, right? And guess what? If you think about a college student, they say, well, that's the starving college student. He's eating oodles of noodles, just passing, to get his degree or whatever, you get out of college, right?
Mhm.
So you were surviving, then you get your job,
Mhm.
right? And you're working your 9 to 5. You barely make enough to pay your bills, but you do pay your bills, right? But then you got to go right back to work. And then guess what? You go through your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. And then when you hit 60s, right, then they say you retire. But most people have lived their whole life just in that survival mode,
Mhm.
right? So the average person doesn't really experience life, right? And what do you mean by experience? With like what's some examples of like experience in life as opposed to just working?
Or just doing things that you love to do. Like when you, most of our because when I think about a survival mode, of course I think about being in that matrix of just, like trying to reach certain goals to get the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But I also think about it's like your nervous system is always in survival mode, because long as you're chasing, 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 you're never being.
Mm.
And so I would say, hold on, I got on track with the being part. What was you saying? What
Well,
was the
we talking
example you
about
said?
like survival mode, like example of being in survival mode, and I was
Okay,
gave the
example.
mhm.
Okay, yeah. So an example of being in survival mode would be pretty much like working your 9 to 5 every single day, like going, like, like, but you're every single week you're doing your best to try to figure out, okay, well, let me just get these bills paid, let me just get these bills paid, let me get these bills paid. But you're always worrying because you always got to get those bills paid, but you never can do anything that you pretty much that you want to go do. You can never relax. You can't even afford to get sick most of the time, because those sick days a lot of the times go into the bills that still need to get paid. And so like you can't afford to just be human. You can't afford to just be so it's like you're always in survival mode. My next, my next, my next. But survival mode always puts you in like a poverty, like lack type mode.
Hmm. Yeah, and so when you think about that, it's most people,
Majority of the
right?
people.
That's most people. Black, white, I don't care, right? We all see, the news, and we hear about the economy. We hear about the economy and how bad it is. But people are still going to work, right? Now, there's a lot less going to work these days, but people are still working and they're still struggling. So,
Name a survival
mhm.
mode for people that's not doing it just in job wise.
Survival mode is just that. It's surviving. Let me give you an example. Animals, right? A dog and a cat survives. If you take that dog out of your house, anybody that has a dog, and you throw him outside, he's just trying to eat to survive. Meaning he's only eating just to stay alive. He's just literally eating to sustain himself. That's survival. Animals survive, right? Animals survive. All your wild animals out in nature, they're surviving, right? They don't have a mind like a human being, okay? They don't have that, right? So human beings, if we have a mind, and we are the only animals that have the ability to change our environment, meaning a deer lives out in the wilderness, in the wild, and they eat berries or whatever they eat. You see what I'm saying? To survive. Then they get hunted. Okay. They're lucky they can survive their life and not get shot by the hunter, right? Animals survive. Okay. Humans, we should be
Thriving.
thriving as opposed to surviving. Meaning, if you are making the same amount of money that you made 5, 10 years ago, guess what? You're surviving. All right. If you're dependent on a system to feed you
Mhm.
every month, that's a form of survival, right? Because if somebody else is feeding you, if somebody else is educating you, if somebody else gave you your belief system, right? They gave you just enough so you could survive,
Mhm.
right? And the sad thing is people are surviving, but they're benefiting someone else, right?
I just want
So
to say that.
so that's what I mean by living in survival mode, right?
Mhm.
And so many people, they're single and they marry somebody, and then they both just start surviving together.
Mhm. They don't even like each other.
Right, right. So, that's being stuck in that survival mode. Money is just the easiest thing to relate to people because we all need money, right? And food costs money,
Mhm.
right? And so many of us, guess what? Eat bad food. Why? Because people say, well, I don't have the money. I know I would eat better, but I don't have the money.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Mhm.
I would exercise, but
I don't got the time.
I don't have the time.
Or the energy.
Right.
Mhm.
And so it's like, okay, so you don't have the money to buy good food, but you don't have the time to exercise and take care of your body. So what are you doing with your time? Well, I'm working. But what you're working is just giving you enough so you just surviving.
Mhm.
Because you're not making enough money to eat good, right? And you got to be overworking yourself because you don't have the time to exercise.
Mhm.
If you ain't got the time to do that, you ain't got the time to spend with your kids. So that's survival mode.
And it really cuts away into your creativity because it's like when you're in that mode, you're limited to being creative,
Right.
And so it's like even though you still had times of survival mode running a business and things like that, but you still had time to be creative. You still had time to say, hey, I'm going to create this. Like when things get crazy for you, you don't think about, hey, I need to go get jobs. The main thing you always say is, okay, well, how can I create another source of income? How
Right.
can I start a new business? How can I serve? And
Right.
it always keep you in a creative mode. It keeps us in a creative mode. It's because like it's not a survival thing. It's like we're not depending on as a matter of fact, what makes us not have to be in survival mode is because we're no longer buying into the matrix of saying we got to have this. Like we're not chasing a tangible things so
Right.
much. It's more of just like fulfilling our purpose and
It's
living in
purpose.
purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that keeps us out of being in survival mode so much because we all get in survival modes at time because like I mean, we're still human. So it's not to say you never be in survival mode. It's just that shouldn't be your dominant lifestyle.
Right. Right. Well, you made a good point. Like most people, like when you're challenged, especially financially challenged, you know, and you need more money, right? It's like, well, I need more money because inflation. The bills are going up. A gallon of milk costs more for those that drink milk. Water costs more. Everything costs more. So what most people do is they stick to the same thought patterns that's giving them the bad results. So then they say, well, I'm working this job. Guess what? I'm going to get a job and work at night. Well, guess what you did? Now you've given up all of your time, okay? And to trade your time for money is the worst way to make money. So the wealthy and the rich, the so-called elite, they don't make money by trading their time. They create time by making better decisions with their finances. So when I talk to people, black people, black people are the number one consumers in the world. I'm talking about black people in America. Number one consumers in the world. They say if you was to take the black economy in the United States, we consume and we produce so much money and consume it uh, other people's products so much, we'll be like the fourth largest economy on the planet. But yet you'll hear, black people say, oh, we're in poverty, we're on welfare, this or that. So how is that possible? Right. So I always say, you're not short on money, you're short on management skills.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? And so that ties into the survival mode thing. It's the mindset that has you living like an animal. Right. For black people in America, people that, are descendants of slaves, this was generations ago. This was centuries ago that we was in chattel slavery, right? To where you couldn't read, right? You couldn't control what you ate. You couldn't have good health care, right? Why are we living today as if we are still slaves? We're still not eating good. Actually, we're still eating slave food.
I mean, because it's a different form of slavery. Like it went from being the chattel slavery to like it's a mental slavery now. And so so that's why we're still there because it's like mentally a lot of us haven't evolved. A lot of us, we don't know our power. We have been tricked out of our power during that trade.
Mhm.
And so our great great grandparents was tricked out of their power. When they was tricked out of their power, they tricked their children. And when they was tricked, so it's just like been a cycle of trick people training people to, out of, to fear their power.
Mhm.
And so they train us to look for our power outside of us, and therefore we never access it because you can never find your power outside of you.
Right. Facts. You're gonna find it on the inside, it's just sad when you think about what you said. Because it's like when you know better, you should do better.
We should.
You know. But that's not always the case though.
It's definitely not.
Because if you think about people, I test people all the time. I ask them the answer to a question, right? And they might give me the right answer. But I'm like, you know the answer to your problems, but yet you still do the same stupid things over and over again, right? So there's a gap. If anybody's ever studied Bob Proctor and any of his teaching or any of his techniques, he said there's a gap between what you know and what you do, because the know and doing gap, right? So there's the disconnect between what you know and what you do, right? You heard it say, if you know better, you should do better, right? But most of us don't do any better. Okay. So what is that? Like, what is the reason? What stops us from what we know and what we do?
What's the gap?
That is the subconscious mind, right? Because the subconscious rolls on autopilot. Okay. So, and the subconscious mind is the part of the mind that deals with your fears. It deals with what you like and what you dislike. See, you might know this is better to do. You might know that that's going to get you better results, but it feels better doing the wrong thing, right?
Guilty, been
Yeah,
there a lot.
you know what I'm saying? And a lot of us been in some bad relationships, right? And guys, you're like, man, I know this girl ain't no good for me. Damn. But there's pleasure in this stupidity that I'm doing. And a lot of
I'm
us
with Kate. I know I'm supposed, like me and Kate not supposed to be as cool as we are.
yeah.
But
You know what the result's gonna be.
I know.
That what you know. But what you do shows your habits and what you're addicted to. Right? And what's insanity.
Doing the same thing over and over, but expecting a different outcome.
Right. So most people are insane because they're doing the same thing over and over again, thinking something's gonna change. Right. So that's that dealing with the knowing and doing gap. So the way you attack that is you identify it. Because if you identify it, then you know what the problem is. But
aware of it.
Yeah, you're aware. So then you're aware just means to be conscious, right? Or conscious just means to be aware. So now you know what the problem is. You see what I'm saying? So you gotta program yourself. You program your mind, right? Some ways you tricking yourself. You see what I'm saying? Right. You're programming your mind for what you know is going to give you the best outcome. Okay. And that's the gap between what we know and what we do. Successful people are able to do that because we call that being disciplined, right? And so to be disciplined is to be able to give yourself a command and follow through. The non-successful, they're so undisciplined. I think about myself in the past. Before I became committed, I was undisciplined. I've always had the ability to sell and had the knack to make money, but I was really just making just enough because I wasn't disciplined. I was starting my business 9 o'clock. How you gonna be successful? You know what I'm saying? The world everywhere is moving at 8 o'clock. So I need to be ready at 6 o'clock. And you see what I'm saying? So it took discipline. in order to get to another level,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now I sit here as somebody on another level than the average person because I'm not average,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I'm not stopping where I'm at, right? You got to keep being disciplined, right? And so this is a way for us people, right, to get better results, right? And to get out of this survival mode, right? You know, so that leads me to, I got my little things of what I want to talk about, right?
And while he go through that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna point out what was just said because a lot of time people miss stuff. And so there's a gap between where you at and where you want to be, right? In order to fulfill that gap, the missing part is discipline, right? But it's disciplining your subconscious mind. And so your subconscious mind do not know the difference between what is real and what is fake. And so whatever you're telling your subconscious mind, whatever you're programming your subconscious mind, whatever you're listening to the most, whatever you're reading the most, whatever conversation you're having the most, whatever you're eating the most, whatever it is, that's what your subconscious mind is being programmed or trained. But just because your subconscious mind think one thing is right, if you start reprogramming it and telling it something different because now you became aware. So now that I'm aware that um I sleep too late or whatever, right? And so like how he was saying, he wasn't starting his business until 9 o'clock. But once he became aware of it, he said, okay, I need to do something different if I want to get to the other side, right? And so from where he was at to where he wanted to be. But obviously, I mean, he did something, right? And so what he's saying he did was he reprogrammed his subconscious mind. Is it something that's going to happen overnight? No. I'm pretty sure. I mean, you can't even say because
Yeah.
you're still in the process of still becoming better and better and better with the disciplinary. And but yeah, so I just wanted to pretty much just
Yeah.
point that out is because a lot of times people are really missing the messages and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can go ahead. You was
Yeah.
looking at
Nah.
the next question that you had needed to go over.
Right. No, that was a very good. I like when you expound on stuff and you take it to another level. Yeah, because it's a process, you know, and it's important for people to know that this stuff doesn't happen overnight. Like
Mhm.
when you become aware, you become conscious. Right.
Mhm.
One of the things we all do, right? When you find something out, what's the first thing you want to go? You want to go start
Tell everybody.
tell everybody, right? I've been lied to. Did you know this? Da, 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 da. Right. But the thing, what it takes is it took time for you to get programmed, right? So it takes time for you to unlearn the
Unlearn it.
garbage that's been put in our heads, right?
Mhm.
Once you identify and you commit to something,
Mhm.
right? Who do you have to commit to? You have to commit to yourself.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? And so that's the problem that people have, right? There's a saying, you can lie to everybody.
She can't
I
lie
can
to
lie to
yourself.
her. I can lie to this one. I can lie to my son. I can lie to my friends, but you can't lie to yourself, right? And so this is self mastery. The work is really for you. It's all on you.
I'm
Mhm.
finna debate you now.
Come on with it.
Okay.
I love a debate.
So technically,
Yeah.
most people we do lie to ourselves. Like that is what you're saying. You can't lie to yourself because you really know the difference. But the thing is, like majority of the time, all we telling ourselves is lies. Because every time you're sitting and you're thinking that you're not worthy, you're lying to yourself. Every time you sit and you think that you're not enough, you're lying to yourself. Every time that you're sitting, all of those negative thoughts about yourself, those are really lies, and that's why you're feeling so uncomfortable. But see, the thing is, a lot of us lie so much that our subconscious mind take it as fact, and then that become our so-called new dominant thought. But it's we think it's real, but it's not. It's just a lie that's been told to our subconscious mind over and over and over and over and over again. So you
I
technically can lie to yourself.
I think you said that.
I said it
I don't
wrong.
want to say wrong, but really, what someone does that,
Uh-huh.
what you tell yourself is truth. So if I say I am, whatever you say after I am, you become.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you become. So the person that says I'm poor, I'm weak, right? I'm not enough. It's saying, I am not enough. So guess what? That's what they become. Your word will not return to you void. So what you put out is what you become. So that becomes the person's truth. But the problem is this: people that say, that call themselves poor, or they look in the mirror and they look at somebody like Jay-Z, who's a man who gonna die. He was born, he came out of a woman just like you. He's gonna go back into that earth just like you. Some people look at that person and say, "Oh, well, he could do that because and they make excuses for themselves."
Mm-hmm.
But what they have done is they curse themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They curse themselves, or they listen to what some teacher told them when they were in school, and they let that person's perception of them become their reality, but they accepted it. So the onus is still always on you, right? So you're accepting that you're ugly, you're fat, you're too skinny, you're too this, you're
But
too
accepting
that.
means that it's not true then, right? And so you're accepting it,
That
you're
becomes
taking
the,
it in.
no, if
Well,
you accept it, it becomes true to you.
okay, yeah. So it became true, but at the bulk of it, like the ultimate truth is
It's whatever you believe of yourself. That's the truth.
okay.
So
I
the
get
reality,
that.
we're given that power, right, to create our reality. But the problem is people are taking someone else's reality and making it theirs, right? And that reality that
Which
they have
majority of people.
accepted, right? They're accepting that this is how it should be, that this is who they should be.
Yeah.
So that leads to something deep though, right? Because think of the world we live in, the chaos we're in, right? And so we went from a form of media, which was like regular TV and then cable TV, and they call it programming. You're being programmed, right? You're being programmed by the media.
Tell lie vision, telling
lies to you visually. But we call the news media. We call all this, they say, well, that's the media. Well, now society hasn't shifted. We've been shifted. And people have to accept another form of media called social media. So think about that. So this new media is called social media, but what is it? It's society, social society, right? And so this media is a reflection of society. So what happens is kids grow up and they partake of this new media called social media. But what is bombarded in the social media, right? Sex, death, violence, the mindset of telling you what you can't do or what you shouldn't do or what you, right, fear. These things are programmed by society. So if now we're being programmed by a new media, which is social, but you tell me all of the wealth is possessed by 1 to 2% of people on the planet. So that's why all your financial information is in the possession of these few people. But I'm getting bombarded with media from people that are in poverty, from people that only care about sex, from people that only look at the woman as she's just a physical object, and all she needs to do is put this body part on and that body part to get a man, or this or that. That's what I'm being bombarded with. So what happens? That media is creating a reality. If I accept that, then I'm letting the outside world create my reality.
And so then it becomes true. So that
right, and then it becomes true if I accept it.
Okay, and so now we're talking about remember the class relative truth versus absolute truth. And so pretty much what he's saying is the relative truth is once you say I am whatever you say, you become it, and so that becomes the truth. But the absolute truth is it's a lie because the power is in you, and so the only reason you don't have any power is because you have given it away.
Well, yeah. So truth is relative, right? And that you can study the law of relativity. It's how do things relate to you? You see what I'm saying? Now, this someone else's truth shouldn't become your truth if it's gonna make you less than. You go check it.
I'm gonna go check on it, baby.
So, so truth truth is, right? And the truth that we need to be concerned with is the truth in you and who you are, who we are, and the power that we have within, right? Because we have an unlimited amount of power. We're like an energy source, right? When you think about the knowledge that you can possess in your brain, right? And the things that you're able to do, there's no limit, right? But what we do is we let people put limits on us. We let people tell us what we can or cannot do. And these things are programmed in our heads and taught to us through systems. Hopefully my wife can come back because we want to talk about systems. So all of the information you have, everything you got, with everything you believe, everything you was taught, they were put in systems, right? You have a religious system, an education system, a judicial system, right? A penal system, right? Everything deals with systems, all right? Your body deals with systems, circulatory, respiratory, everything deals with systems. And these systems are all interconnected. Now, what do you know about these systems? What do we know about the people that created the systems that are controlling us? Who created the education system, right? That taught us how to be good workers and not entrepreneurs? Who created the system that says, oh, I don't like my job, I'm going to go get another job, right? This was somebody that created a system. These systems control our minds and they control our thinking. So we have to study and say, who started this system and what was their motive? What is their intention? You have the ability to create your own system. When I talk about creating your own economy, you have that power to create your own economy. But you first got to understand the meanings of these words and how they pertain to you. The word economy, look it up. Economics comes from a Greek word, oikonomia. That means household management. Most people today are struggling with their bills and struggling in life, and they're getting afraid of stuff they're seeing on the news. They're hearing about, this eclipse. These people are going to do that. They're living their life in fear, but they don't control what they eat. They don't control where they lay their head. They don't own anything. They die and they have nothing to leave their families, but they make money. So they're mismanaging what they have. They're mismanaging their life because a lot of people are in relationships that are leading them nowhere. They're dating people or married to people who they're not even yoked with. They're not even evenly yoked. They don't really have anything in common, right? Just because you can get in the bed with somebody, or just because they can do this temporary thing, or just because you feel like you saving somebody that don't want to be saved, right? People are wasting their lives. Um, and they're not, so that's mismanagement. So the word economics or economia means household management. I was talking earlier about how Black people are the number one consumers, consuming things, not producing anything. You want to start making impressions, start producing something, start offering a service. The best way to increase your money, your cash flow, is to serve others. Business should be about service. So that's why in these Masternomics classes and discussions we have, we're always telling you how to serve others, serve better, right? You need more money. Don't just say, I'm going to go get another job. You might stay where you're at, but produce another stream of income. Start using your mind more. Start using technology more. We got AI. AI can help with a lot of things, right? So this is the day and time that we're living in. We're living in a day and time where nobody cares about your excuses, okay? Nobody cares what happened to you when you were little. Like if you got arms, legs, feet, you got a sound mind, get out there and get it, right? Stop letting people suck your life away. That's to be conscious is to be aware. Look at everybody in your life, especially the ones that living in your household, especially the ones you getting in the bed with every night. And make sure y'all are on the same page and you're not wasting each other's time. A lot of times you could be wasting somebody's time, right? But you're here for a reason. Be the best version of yourself. Take advantage of the time that you do have here in this physical life, in this physical plane. You're not just here by chance or luck. Can't live your life based off of chance, luck, haphazardly, hoping things gonna change, right? We got people living on the planet, giving birth to other children, and don't even know the value and the power of being a mother or a father. And that's producing the society that we're in. It's a chaotic situation that we're living in as a people, right? And right now there's conscious efforts to separate men, women, this one, that one, right? When we need each other. We need each other. But we got to be real with one another. But first, you got to be real with yourself. If you in a relationship, and this could be personal, this could be business, remember economics or economia, the Greek word household manage. Manage your household, household management. Be the CEO of your household, right? Whatever you don't manage, you lose. Whatever you do not manage, you will lose. Okay? And so that's why so many of us are losing because we're not managing what we have. Right? You're not being responsible. So the systems that they gave you a system and they made you be dependent on them. Dependency. But it's about you being free. Freedom means that free, but freedom is not free. You're going to put in some work, right? So if you want financial freedom, the work you got to put in is internal. It's not external. If you need more money, you don't need to go and say, oh, I need to work 2 and 3 jobs. That's everything external. The work you got to put in is internal. You got to be more disciplined, right? If people are in your life and they mean you no good or they're not a part of what you see as success, what you do? You got to cut them off. For some of you, that's going to be ending the relationships, right? For some of you, it's going to be getting rid of that guy, girl, whoever, because you know they're wasting your time. But really, you wasting your time. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're distracting you. Mm-hmm. What you'll find is most people don't want to be successful. Most people don't want to get uncomfortable because they're afraid. What's the opposite of success? Hmm? It's not failure. It's conformity. To conform to what everybody else is doing. That's a form of fear. That's a form of cowardness. Your most successful people, they wasn't afraid. They wasn't afraid to fail. They wasn't afraid to get uncomfortable. Right?
And there's people or beings or whatever terminology we want to use that benefit off of your fear. They benefit off you conforming. They benefit off you not knowing who you are. They benefit off the separatism. They benefit off of these things because as long as they have you in fear, then you're going to be in survival mode. And as long as you're in survival mode, then that you can easily be manipulated and you can easily be controlled. It's because when you're in fear, you're not in a place of remembering and knowing who you are. You don't know your power because it cuts you off from that source energy, right? And so once you're cut off from that energy, not that you're completely cut off, but you're disconnected because you're not in awareness of it. And so once you're not in awareness of that, the power, you don't have access to it. You're blocking the access. And so the fear keeps you in survival mode. The fear as a matter of fact, you can't even be in unity. You can't even feel unified once you're in fear because if I'm scared, if I'm feeling any type of fear, you can no longer be my sister or my brother. You're my competition. You are the, I'm in survival mode. So it's about me. It's like when you watching those end of the world type movies or something like that, when it's like, a lot of, what it was,
Well,
the leave the
uh,
world behind.
the left the world behind, that
Yeah.
movie we watched.
And
Yeah.
so even in the movie, remember, they was in fear. So they wasn't trying, like, the guy, he wasn't trying to help them. And it's not because he was an evil person, he was a messed up person. It's because it was fear. Like, it's about me. I'm in survival mode. When I'm in survival mode, I don't have time to worry about you, because I have to worry about me. And so therefore it distorts the community. We're no longer a community when we're in fear.
Mhm. That's right. Yeah, this getting out of survival mode is whew,
Even
it's
for your health.
powerful. Yeah, it's powerful when you think about it, because what you were just saying, that fear.
Mm.
Fear is what it is, right? False
It's
evidence appearing real.
Mhm.
It's something that's not really there,
Mhm.
right? When
It's tricks on your mind.
you're tricking your mind because you're afraid, right? And most of us are afraid of nothing. We don't really even know what we're afraid of. But what we are afraid of is what somebody's going to say about us.
Mhm.
So we listen to people that are cowards,
Mhm.
people that have never done nothing for themselves.
Mhm.
Most people don't start the business they want to start because they listen to people that did not even start a business. They listen to the person that says, man, you need to stick with what you're doing because this or that. You see? Or you listen to somebody else's story, right? And then that becomes your reality, back to what we was talking about earlier, right? So the thing is, fear it's the most debilitating emotion. It stifles you.
Mhm.
It stops you, right? When I talk to so many men, women, and they say they want this type of man or woman, what stops them is fear,
Mhm.
right? They're afraid to get uncomfortable. I say, if you want that type of man or woman, stop going where you going, go to this type of place. You
Mhm.
just in the club all night, right? Or you at the gambling hall, you doing this, and you got that type of woman, but you say you want this type of woman. Stop going there and go here.
Mhm.
Change your environment.
And even if they, like, because a lot of people just even afraid to just be alone, but even that's crazy,
Sure.
because like when you're afraid to even, like, if you can't make a move, somebody is not for you, right? You sleeping with the enemy, if you sleeping to people, somebody that will betray you, people that will take from the inside of the house, like, so they're taking from themselves. And so if you're committed to something like that, then you're committed to nothing. It's like, how is being alone worse than it?
Mm.
Like, why do you hate yourself so much that you don't want to be by yourself? And you're wondering why you're in that type of relationship. And it's because if you don't like you,
Mm.
how can you be mad because that person don't want to be in your energy? You don't like being in your energy. You don't like sitting with you. Your thoughts drive you insane. And so just imagine that energy with somebody else. Like, if you don't like you, why am I obligated to like you? If you don't want to be around you, why am I obligated to want to be around you? If you can't do it for you, why am I obligated to do it for you? And so, like, you are staying in those relationships, those friendships, is not serving anyone, like, at all, because the things that you're fearing is false. Like he was saying, false evidence appearing real. Being alone is not the worst thing that can happen to you.
Sure.
Even, let's think of something crazier, right? And so let's say, like, me and my friends when we was younger, be like, well, did you die? Did you die? But even with that, it's just like, okay, if it ain't gonna kill us, it's gonna make us stronger. So why are we so afraid? And even if we do die, we still, like he was saying, like, energy can't die.
Sure.
And so, like, they got us fearing living. They got you fearing the idea of thriving, because that's why we keep you in survival mode, because you're feeding off of something that's not even real. It's just trickery, trickery. And you have the power to come out of that. You have the power to thrive. You have the power to command your reality. The problem is you're using your power against yourself, because you're commanding the wrong crap. You're commanding, every time you say I am, what you say,
You become
it, right? Regardless of if it's the absolute truth or not. It's relative, and so therefore it's still going to happen within this reality, within this realm, because that's what you're commanding with your words. Because whatever you add to I am, you're adding to yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
I am is your own self-awareness,
Mhm.
right? So I am, if I say I am strong, I'm stating that and I'm claiming it and I become strong. If you say that over and over again, you will be strong,
Mhm.
right? So people that have never won, whether it's a basketball game, football game, right? If they see themselves as losers, guess what they will be? Losers. Before Michael Jordan, before Muhammad Ali, before they ever won one fight or one championship, they saw themselves as champions,
Mhm.
right? Because that's what they claim it and they became it.
Mhm.
You know, it's just like I always like to use the analogy of the young lady. She loves the guy. They've been dating, and he pops the question, "Baby, will you marry me?"
Mhm.
Right? At that moment, now she says yes. They're not going to get married till next year. At that, for him to get to the point of wanting to marry her, she had to be conducting herself as a wife. He had to see, say, like, wow, this is marriage material, right? But he had to act a certain way in order to make her act a certain way, right? So that's the law of attraction. But what happened? At the moment that she says, yes, I will marry you, right? She starts to visualize the wedding day, right? She's seeing, oh, and then she starts saying, she's making calls. So she starts pulling everybody in her circle. I'm getting married, girl. I want you to be the bridesmaid. I want you to do this. Then a whole bunch of energy starts to say, oh, this is gonna be your day, girl. This is a year down the line, right? But if anybody, any woman, you ask them about the day they knew they were gonna get married, seemed like time was just moving. Because they go into that goal. So she already saw herself as a bride. She visualized it and she became it. She said, I am a wife. I am Mrs. So-and-so. She said it that day. Anything after I am, you become, right? That is your conscious awareness. That is what you are aware of. Rich people say, I am rich. That's their consciousness. Their consciousness is wealth, right? And so they talk with wealthy people, they're around wealthy people, their whole environment shifts. If your friends are poor and in poverty, you are going to be in poverty, right? If everybody you hanging around with acts a certain way and it's negative and it's this and that, you're going to be one of those people.
What's it saying? If you hang around three broke people, by default, you're going to be the fourth.
You're going to be the fourth one, right? So if you want riches and you want wealth, if we're talking about in that aspect, right? What type of counterpart should you be talking to, male or female? Someone who wants riches and wealth. If you have a vision of having a family, what type of man or woman should you be talking to?
Somebody with similar values.
Somebody with similar values. But what happens in society? You know, why are there so many single mothers or this or that? It's because people don't know how to have conversations about stuff that really matters. We're so caught up into right now what feels good. Or they say this, they say that. She fine, right? But then she becomes the worst baby mama in the world. Or he's so cute, he this or that. Now he's the worst baby daddy in the world, right? How do we get to that point? Because we don't talk. We don't have the right conversations. We don't talk about finances, right? We don't talk about beliefs, spirituality, religious beliefs, political beliefs, this or that, right? So you end up sleeping with somebody who is the enemy.
Because they was cute.
Right. Yeah, because she looked good. He was cool. Right.
And then you try to force them to be in this ideal where you thought a mate's supposed to be, right? But meanwhile, y'all never even had those type of conversations. Or even if you just had the conversations, it's like they're just there listening to the conversation. They never said even if they said that they wanted those things too, they never really said they wanted them with you. And so your mind is creating this whole fantasy world, but you okay, but your mind is creating this whole fantasy world, but it don't manifest into that. Or let's say y'all do end up having a baby, and y'all you realize that y'all have different ideas of how you want to raise your children, or the child. You're having different ideas of what you want to be programmed into the child spiritually. You have different ideas of the type of things you want the child to watch, to be able to pay attention to. And now you're, oh, he's the worst person, she's the worst person, but it could have all been avoided by simple conversations. And I'm not saying this to judge anybody, because I was a young, woman, and I have my own stories with that too. But like you say, once you do better, once you know better, you should be able to do better. And so, but the thing is, like, so one of the things I learned from being young is I wasn't having those conversations. But once we met, we had those hard conversations. Like, I needed to know, where are you spiritually? He needed to know where I was at. And I'm not gonna lie, like, we was in the same space, but he was where I desired to be, if that makes sense. And so, like, so it was like the same, it still was the same frequency, but our goals was the same, our outcomes was the same, the things that we desired, so it still was thing we got together, and it was bigger than we look good. Now I'm attracted to him and he's attracted to me, but we didn't get married and we did not start dating or any of that off attraction. We did it because of our similar purposes, and that's what keep us together, because life is going to get hard, and when life get hard, you need to know your why. And so not only do you need to know your why with your marriage, your girlfriend, boyfriend, you need to also know it within your business, because when things get hard, you need to have your reminders in place of what's the bigger picture. But if you afraid to have those hard conversations because you afraid he's not going to be with you, which is stupid, then you are still going to be, you're just going to manifest chaos within your life. It's because you're afraid to say, this is what I want. But then you're going to get mad because he's not delivering what it is that you want. Well, meanwhile, the poor fella don't even know what it is that you want. As a matter of fact, a lot of times we as women, I'm speaking as women, but I'm not saying men don't, go through this or whatever, but I'm a woman and I can only speak for women. We're not clear on what we want. And so it was a meme. It was like, what do we want? It was like the women's like, we don't know. When do we want it? We want it now, but so we don't know what we want, but we want the man to know what we want. We want our friends to know what we want. We want our parents to know what we want, and so if you can't sit still with yourself and realize what it is that you want, you can't be mad at the other person for not showing up as it. But so a lot of times, in order to know what you don't want, you have to first know, to know what you want, you have to first know what you don't want. And so if I don't want this, if I don't want that, and if I tell him I don't want this, and if that make him run, you're not wasting my time. It's so it's like you waste, like how he was saying, remember you said they didn't lie to you, they didn't hurt you, you lied to yourself, you hurt yourself, you betrayed yourself. And so I had to realize, like, with past relationships, they didn't betray me. Like, it was so hard it was easier to just let it go, because I'm like, it was never them, it was me. I'm the one that made these fairy tales within my head over conversations I never really even had, because it's like I'm just going off what's in my mind. But it wasn't until, meeting him, I'm like, well, what is it that you want? Well, how did this make you feel? How do you view this? Like, so we had some real deep conversations. But from day one, I told him, I said, I am dating for marriage. And so he knew that if you was gonna pursue me to date me, I am dating with a goal of getting married. But so they'll say, oh, don't say marriage because it'll run them off on the first date. Baby, if you're gonna run, go ahead and put your running shoes on and take off right now, because this is what I want. I've already wasted my time. I'm not here to waste my time. Okay, so I want to be married. I want a man that's spiritually grounded. I want a man that know how to lead. And so it's certain things that I wanted, but I wasn't afraid to tell him what I wanted. Actually, it made him think that I was a little crazy at first, but
no, you was honest and said you was dating for marriage.
First conversation.
I was honest in saying that I wasn't necessarily looking for marriage. But I was looking for, a good relationship. But I think I was like, I wasn't like, I would never do it or whatever. but I was pretty,
Adamant, like you
adamant,
never get
like,
married
you know
again.
what, I don't see that, this concept of marriage as they give it to the world, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
Um, but
And I
what
understand that.
happens, yeah, what happens is this: we as people have to have value,
Hmm.
right? And what you had was value. So we dated, um, and because you showed so much value in what I wanted, because you said, look, I'm dating for marriage, and I said, look, I have a calling, I have to build, I got to build this business, then I got to build these businesses. I said, but more than anything, I know I'm here to teach people.
Hmm.
I'm here to help people get better. And at the time, I said I want to make 100 Black millionaires. And I started telling you a lot about myself, and you drew to that, and you added so much value because what you listened to what I said I wanted,
Hmm.
and you just became it, like, and
Hmm.
vice versa.
Hmm.
So you added so much value, it got to the point to where something in me shifted and said, you know what, because this marriage wasn't good, right? Does that mean I should not do something again?
Hmm.
Right? Because that would be counter what I teach. Because I teach don't be afraid, and you know what I'm saying, don't be afraid of failure, right? But if you know you're gonna do your best and this person shows they have value, you became so valuable to me. I said, well, you know what? How does my life is looking great now with her.
Hmm.
How does it look without her? And I didn't like the way it looked without you. So we just it's like we were just so evenly together in the things that mattered, and that was family.
Hmm.
The primary things was family, spirituality, purpose.
Hmm.
We shared the same purpose of loving people, spreading love to humanity, teaching and helping our people
Hmm.
to and constantly keep learning. Those are our primaries, right?
Hmm.
Everything else was is other stuff like
Hmm.
clothes, your car, all that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was cool,
But
but
none of that was important to either one of us.
right,
Like
yeah, that wasn't our
that
primary
didn't
thing.
drive us
Right.
at all. But like when he was saying like he was like he told me what he wanted. It's because like it was very important to me to have a man with vision. You know, like it was very important for me with that. It's because that I've always been I would say like a gold oriented. And so I'm not a gold digger, but I am a gold digger. Like you gotta have some gold. You had to have, something about yourself that you know that you want
Gold,
more
gold.
goals. Like yeah,
Okay.
like you chasing
Gold.
something,
Yeah.
goals, yeah,
Yeah.
not gold. And so, but so he had vision. And so but the vision, it was something that I can believe in. It was something I saw myself being able to do. And the vision, even though he didn't have all of the parts together for it, with the bigger picture, I said, oh, well, I can just, help and assist him with getting it started. But with me getting it started and doing that part, it had nothing to do with trying to pursue his love. It had nothing to do with just trying to make this man like, oh, I'm gonna be where he want. It was so much bigger than that. Not all of that just end up being a part of the case too, but it was so much more of like the bigger picture of what I'm seeking. He have a solution to. And so with the solution, which is also I'm feeling is my life purpose to be able to figure out. And so I'm like, oh, I can believe in this solution. And so I was working towards building the Seed of Life. I was working towards building these organizations with him. And I was committed to seeing that they be built with or without me being his wife or his partner. I was literally building with him in a sense of this have to be done for our people regardless if we ever get romantic or not. And like so that's what made it so easy with coming into the roles, is because it's not that I just was like, oh, I gotta be this entrepreneur, put this together for him, because I already was on my own journey. It wasn't, but it was just like, this is my purpose. It felt purposeful because once we had these conversations, he didn't trick me, he didn't bamboozle me. He said, this is what I want to do, this is my vision, this is what I'm here to do. And I was like, oh, I like that, like it really coincide with what it is that I want to do and the value that I can bring. And so we end up just coming together and we end up just being this I would say dynamic force.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you had those conversations, don't be worried about if you gonna run him away. If you run him away because you want to be married, you want to have kids, or you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a singer, rapper, whatever it is that you want to do, if that's gonna run somebody off, then really it's the trash taking itself out. You're not wasting your time. And so don't be afraid. Even if you end up being alone, so what? During that a long time, stop trying to chase the next man or the next woman, or well, you do what you want to do. But I would say take that time to make yourself valuable. Take that time to make yourself be equal to the type of man or the type of woman that you're saying that you want to attract next, right? Because if you don't take that time to reassess, because he like from where you at now, where you want to be, there's a gap, right? And so you have to reprogram your subconscious mind. And so if you know that, hey, obviously I was just on the frequency of dealing with jokers, right? And so in order for me to get off this frequency with jokers, I got to stop looking at myself as a joker magnet. I got to stop like wasting my time with potential just because somebody look cute and they can dress nice with a Gucci belt. Like, come on. And so you got to really assess yourself what it is that I want to be. Okay, if I want this type of man, if I want a man that moves like this, like we always saying, we want these high caliber men, we want these high value men. But are you a high value woman? And if you're not a high value woman and you want a high value man, you need to stop trying to find him and date him, and you need to go become the type of woman that mirror that in order to be able to attract him. And so
Facts.
yeah. And so that's the gap. The gap is reprogramming how you seeing yourself. Because if a man could never abuse you more than you already abusing yourself. And like, oh, I ain't never hit myself. I wouldn't do that to myself. If you didn't feel like you deserved that, you wouldn't be there. You wouldn't stay. If so, therefore, it's in your mind, subconsciously, or what you have been programmed, to believe that you're not worthy, that you have been programmed to believe that in order for this man to love you, he had to be beating on you or hitting you or mistreating you. And so the only reason you allow anybody outside of you to mistreat you is because you are mistreating yourself inwardly.
Right. That's right.
Fix how you feeling on that side of you, and everything else gonna work itself out.
I am
what?
whatever you say after I am, you become.
You add it to yourself.
Right. And what is truly God to you is your own conscious awareness. What are you aware of being? What are you aware of being? Right. And so in the religious systems, they gave you was created in the image and likeness of God. Now we know everything they gave you in their system don't benefit you, but hold on to that, because if you are in the image and likeness or like God, right? Who and what are you?
God.
Right. And in that scripture, you could turn to the book of John, chapter 10, verse 34. Jesus said, what? Is it not written in your law? You are God. And you can turn to the Psalms, and you'll see, ye are gods. Right.
For which of my good works have you come to stone me for? Because you made yourself a God. But isn't it in your words, in your law, that ye are gods? You said it's not me. And so call us by our name, right?
That's right. Everybody do. So be who and what you are. Be that representation, right?
And if you don't like who you are, that's okay. Paint a picture of what it is. Who do you want to be? How do you want to be?
Right.
And then look where you at now and say, okay, well, what is it that I need to start? What habits do I need to break, or what habits do I need to make in order to get here? Where do I need to discipline myself? What is it that I need to be saying to myself constantly? And so if you're having a problem with feeling like you're not worthy, simple. Do what the Bible says. Say, I am worthy. I am worthy. It said the weak need to say what?
I am strong.
It didn't say anything about keeping it real. It didn't say nothing about you better let them know that, you got to keep it real. Let them know that, hey, you struggling, you weak. No, it says say that I am strong. And so if you don't feel worthy, I am worthy. I am enough. I am, and so say it.
That's your own ability to shift, right? Your word is powerful.
What's some of the ways you shift with your subconscious mind?
Affirmations. So I have affirmations that I say every day, 3 times a day, right? And the affirmation is to affirm something. So we do have to program ourselves. Why? Because the systems that have control over us, the judicial system, the education system, these religious systems, right? They didn't just tell you something one time, right? They repetitively told it to you over and over and over and over again, and you started to believe it, right? You see what I'm saying? In order to make a slave, do you think they kidnapped somebody and said, "You're a slave" one time? No, they had to tell them over and over again. I saved you. You was a savage. You was a savage. You was a savage. Your people are savages. You dumb. You this or that. Be a slave and you get to go to heaven. It was repetitious.
To Ghana, we even saw the process. Like the process was so much deeper than even just that part, because like they trained you for months in certain stations before you even got on the boat. Like you went through so much different training before you even got to the boat, let alone to America.
Right. And guess what? You went through training here, right here in America, through this education system, not just Black people, but white people, everyone. You were trained, you was indoctrinated, you was taught, work for money, work. You're not worthy of this money. You see what I'm saying?
Don't do
this and that. Go to hell. Right. You was programmed over and over again. So once you become aware, the knowing doing gap, the way you feel that and connect those two together, it comes, you have to repetitiously program your mind. You have the power to program your mind. You see what I'm saying? And these things really are at your fingertips. Once you become aware, you have to create ways to separate from people that aren't in alignment with you. So affirmation is a real good way, because when you're affirming something, and when you say something, say it with conviction. You see what I'm saying? Right. So remember, whatever you say after I am, you become. Right. So if you say, you're cursing yourself if you say I am poor, you're cursing yourself to poverty. All right. So I don't care if you only got $1. Right. You are not your circumstance. So you can't hold on to that circumstance, right? Because what do entrepreneurs do? We fix problems. So if you're having a financial challenge, you're overcoming a financial challenge, how are you going to fix it? You got to use your brain. You got to think of another way to fix this problem. Stop thinking, oh, I need more money, I got to go get a better job, because you're giving up your time, right? It's probably 99% of the time is poor management, and the problem is you. You see what I'm saying? There's people that benefit off of your stupidity. Facts. They invest money in prisons, right? They're not investing money in schools or new forms of education. They're building prisons for a reason, because they are invested in your failure. They're invested in you conforming, right? You fail when you conform, when you just say, I'm just going to go with everybody else. I'm from the hood. They selling dope. I'm going to sell dope. Then you end up in prison. They're investing in you conforming. You see what I'm saying? But there's people benefiting from you. There's people benefiting from you not being an entrepreneur.
Sure, there's people benefiting off the prison systems.
Yeah, you know? I mean, so all of these systems are designed for your benefit, right? The religious institutions, there's people that benefit in you acting like you're still a slave by not reading the book, the Bible, the Quran, whatever you say you believe in, and you still don't read the book, right? Books were written to be read, right? Why have a book that you say this has the answer, but you don't even read it? But you let somebody else give you their interpretation, and you live, and their interpretation is keeping you sitting right where you're at, living in poverty, because you're saying, oh, the meek will inherit the earth, right? No, the meek will inherit another set of chains, and everything will remain the same. Dr. John Henry Clark, right? So you can't say you're not a slave, but you still talk as a slave, because you still affirm the same words of a slave, and those words become the truth to you. And that becomes your reality. You see? But you have the power to shift. We are the only beings here, if you want to call us animals, right? We're the only ones that can change our environment. We're the only ones that can recreate ourselves. You see, dogs can't do it. Cats can't do it. The birds outside can't do it. They depend on man, right? You was given dominion right?
The only
Over the
thing that set
planet,
us apart is our minds.
right?
It's
So
what
we have that power and we have that ability. So that's why we do it. That's why we have Masternomics. So check out courses, check out our books, like, share, comment, holler at us, talk to us. If there's anything that you need, we're here to serve. We doing this for service. You see what I'm saying? We doing this for purpose, right? We doing this all over the planet, all over. North America, South America, Africa. We spreading worldwide, taking a message. What's the message? It ain't our message. This message been passed down from leader after leader, generation. Do for self, right? Believe in you. The most important belief is belief in yourself. What do you believe about you? Whatever you say, right, and you believe is the word of God to you. If you believe you're poor, you're going to be poor. But I'm here to tell you, we was all born rich. Why? Because you just like the acorn that turns to the oak tree, right? What's in you has the ability to turn to an oak tree. You were just a dot, sperm. Now look how big you are, right? So you have unlimited potential. There ain't nobody, nothing stopping you but you. So that's why we do this. Any last comments you want to say, baby?
Love thyself, know thyself, be thyself. Like, share, follow, tell a friend to tell a friend. Email us if you have any certain topics you want us to be able to touch on.
Yeah.
Give us feedback. Let us know what we're doing so great.
Yeah. You have years of entrepreneurship, years of being an educator, years of being a teacher, years of being a manager. I've studied all the scriptures in their original languages, and I constantly study. But more importantly, I am a student to this day, right? I'm a student of the universe, right? And my job here is to serve. Every aspect I'm here to serve. Wherever you at, I'll meet you there to just show you who and what you are, right? And if you listen to me, you're gonna know who and what you are, right? And you're gonna know where that power is, and the power is inside of you.
And one last thing for real. The only problem that you truly have, the only problem anybody truly have, you think you have a lot of problems, but you really only have one. And that one problem is
Forgot who you are.
that's it.
Just remember who you are.
And that's the only solution you can have is to remember who you are. The only problem is you forgot. And we're here to help you remember.
Well, peace, love. See you next time.
Next week.